All right, it is 2 minutes after the hour. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're dialing in from. I am so thrilled that you're here because that means that you are recognizing the impact that AI is going to have on your marketing and sales, and therefore your revenue, your profit, the future of your business. So I am thrilled that you're here. I'm thrilled that you're making the time, and I'm going to keep this as short as I can, but as action-packed as I can. A few minutes ago, I sent around a workbook that you can use to capture any ideas or article ideas, video ideas, whatever comes to mind. We're going to go through all of them today, and you can capture whatever ideas come to mind. When you fill out the workbook, I am more than happy to take some time and give you feedback, hop on a call with you, and really discuss these ideas. I would love for you to walk away with a clear plan of what the next 60 days look like and why you should, as an organization, build more trust. Having said that, let's jump right in. So before we start, though, a few very small housekeeping things. This webinar will be recorded. I will be sending it around tomorrow with, again, the worksheet and the slides, so you have everything in one neat package, and my contact information if you want to take me up on the offer to receive feedback on your ideas that you're generating today. Now, that's sort of the logistical. There will be questions at the end. More than happy to just pop them in the chat as you have them, and at the end I will get to them and answer them as best as I can. Now, before we really dive in though, there's one ask that I have for you today, and that is have an open mind. We will be discussing things today that are future-oriented, and no one has a crystal ball. No one knows exactly what the world is going to look like in 6 months and 12 months. But what I do know is that AI isn't going away. And there's just so many misconceptions, so many ideas out there of what AI is and isn't. So my ask for you today is to just have an open mind and think of it as not like, oh, we're different, this doesn't apply to us, but maybe as a, how can we apply this? How does this impact my business? How can I make this work for us? Okay? All right, having said that, let's dive right in. Now, let's start at the simple thing. Marketing used to be really simple. I don't know if you remember, but 2010, you just had to throw up a few blog posts and you pretty much were ranking on Google and you had people at your doorstep. Now, in 2012, that's when I started my agency. Inbound marketing just started off. And as part of that, it was relatively simple, but people started to get the idea of, if I do content marketing and I have a form where people can fill out and then download something of value, I can generate leads. So more and more people got on board with that and they were successful. In 2014, you had to now publish blog posts consistently. You had to have a strategy. It became harder and harder, right? 2016, you had to really start to do some SEO around it to be able to rank. In 2018, you had to actually target long tail keywords in order to rank. And then in 2020, you not only had to do long tail keywords, publish consistently, optimize for search engines, but now you really had to focus on distribution, on putting it on social media, having your employees putting it on social media. You really had to work hard to disseminate your content. Now, 2023 comes along, and that's where really ChatGPT took off into the broad adoption. And now all of a sudden, everyone can create content very easily by just entering a keyword, pressing enter, and voila, there's a 2,000 word blog post. It's SEO optimized. It has all the structure that you could just copy paste it. It even has an FAQ section. So essentially, what happens is an explosion of content. Now, I expected in the beginning of the whole ChatGPT thing, I expected the explosion of content to be much greater in terms of everyone now posts AI generated articles, and that didn't happen as much, but we still saw a massive uptake in generic content. So now Google and other search engines, but mainly Google, has put out a whole bunch of updates. I think it was 5 since last October, that says you have to be focusing on sharing your experience, your expertise. You really have to focus on trustworthiness, and your authentic authoritativeness. There we go. Now, if you see though how your traffic has been behaving in the last 6 months or so, I don't know about your business or your organization, but I've seen across the board of my clients a 30 to 40% loss if we wouldn't have continued the work that we're doing, right? So I'm seeing with new portals that I'm looking into consistently 40% around in loss of organic traffic. Now that is tremendous if you really rely on search engines bringing you leads. And that's something that we really have to shift away from, and I'll get to that in a second. Now, what is happening though is Google is really playing a very long-term game with their SEO, with their AI, whereas ChatGPT is a much more immediate solution, right? So we used to be typing into Google long tail keywords, like how do I do this? What does this cost? Et cetera, et cetera. And then we go and get a list of search engine results. We click on them, we scan the article. Do we find the result? No, we go back, click on the next one, go to that article, scan it. I mean, it's like this searching for answers, and it's quite exhausting. I mean, not really, but it does take a lot of brain calories to get that answer that you're looking for. Whereas you go to ChatGPT or a different AI engine like Perplexity, and you just enter your question, and it creates an answer for you. And in Perplexity, it even gives you the links. And it's like instant. You don't have to do as much work. So that shift of people going away from search and going towards answers, if you see where I'm going there, is very immediate, because it's very quick that people make that switch and say, oh, I can just go get the answers. So search traffic will keep on declining, organic search traffic, and we will really see a shift towards ChatGPT-like chatbots giving us the answer right away. And I'll get to that in a second of how we're going to prepare for that. I just want to mention real quick that PPC effectiveness is also declining, because we are less spending time on the actual Google mask, and we don't see the advertisements, but B, because we just don't want to click on ads. So you can't really make up for that loss in search traffic by just buying more ads. All right. What does happen in the meantime, though, is we are trying to compensate more and more and more by putting things more on channels. So we have YouTube Shorts, which is going to become the new search engine other than ChatGPT. We are going to put things more on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the social media channels, and blogs, podcasts, newsletters, email lists. I mean, there's so many channels that we're going to try to communicate with our audience with, but not just search traffic. All right, so that's my point. Now, the same thing, I just want to mention that real quick, has happened to sales as well. It's not just specific to marketing. In sales, cold calling took this massive hike. Thankfully, that went away. Cold outreach with generic emails. Thankfully, that went away. Pushy sales tactics. I mean, there's so many things that are not effective anymore. So my point of this long-winded explanation is, and it's really important though to understand the history, is that your traditional marketing and sales playbook isn't working anymore. And it might work for you right now and you see it decreasing, but in 6 months, we really will see a massive shift, okay? So why is that? If you take a step back and take off your marketing and sales shoes and you are thinking about yourself as a buyer, you know that you are much, much less patient than you've ever been before. And when you see something or when a salesperson emails you, your default setting isn't necessarily, oh, let me see what they have to say. But it's more like, why are they emailing me? I'm going to delete that. So we feel that distrust to a salesperson by default. And then we're also much, much more wary of making mistakes. And that's true for B2C and B2C and B2C and B2B. And a lot of times people come to me and say, Hannah, I understand that it's for consumer-oriented businesses, but for business-oriented businesses, that isn't really going to be the case. Well, my answer to that is, what is more impactful? You making a buying decision that was a really stupid idea and your spouse is angry at you, and maybe you have to save a bit of money next month because you've made this really stupid purchase, or you're doing that in a job situation and you might actually get fired, or your boss, you may not be able to do the project that you wanted to do because you purchased the wrong thing or you went with the wrong vendor or whatever it is, right? So people are much, much more wary of purchasing the wrong thing and making mistakes. So that means as buyers, we do a lot more due diligence. We do tons of research. And studies have shown, depending on the industry and the product or service that you're selling or buying, it's 70 to 80% that people are spending by themselves, in some industries even 90%. And they are researching until that point. And then maybe at the end they have a few questions or they want to confirm certain things or they couldn't find something out. And that's when they are contacting a salesperson. But even that gap is closing, because if you look at below in the slide, according to Gartner, 33% in 2023 wanted a seller-free experience, and now it's 75%. Just in 1 year, we went from 1 out of 3 to 3 out of 4 people wanting nothing to do with salespeople and just pushing the buy now button and purchasing. And that's, again, also in business to business, they are making purchase decisions online without involving a salesperson. Now, coming back to what this means real quick, we are going to have more decision makers. So whether that is a family where we ask our friends for recommendations, or we ask our parents for advice, or we're involving the spouse much more, whatever that is. And in a business setting, we have larger buying committees, more decision steps, longer sales cycles, etc. We are able to shop around much more. So I've talked to a few CEOs of roofing companies lately, and they're all saying, we come to the table and people have 12, 15 quotes already on the table. People shop around like crazy. And then that's because there's more options available, right? Like, it's not just, oh, I have to make a decision between these two options. There's so many options available. And AI is making it much, much easier to compare these options. All right, so having said all that, let's dive into how we're going to deal with that going forward. And there's one question that is really going to be able to guide every single decision in this sea of uncertainness and uncertainty with AI. So even if you don't know where AI is going, there's one question you can ask yourself that will always guide you like a North Star in the right direction. Okay? And that is, what is the single most important emotion that we as buyers have to feel in order to allow us to exchange our hard-earned money for a product or service? And that single most important emotion is trust. If we don't trust the donut store down the street, the child care center that my child goes to, the software application vendor I buy software from, the business coach I work with, whatever it is, if I don't trust that person, that brand, that salesperson, whatever it is, I'm not going to buy. So from now on, you can ask yourself, no matter what marketing or sales decision you have to take, no matter what AI throws at us, the question can be, is it going to build more trust of my buyers? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, it's probably a good idea. If the answer is no, I'm not sure, probably safe to just leave that by the wayside. All right? And here's why. I couldn't find two guys that look similar, so he grows a beard on the other side. But besides that point, we are on this mountain on the one side, and we are trying to make a decision. And in order to make that purchase, we have to cross that chasm to get to the other side, be happy, have no buyer's remorse, make the decision, and move on. But that chasm is wider and wider and wider based on how many worries, fears, concerns, objections I have as a buyer, right? And the only thing that's going to get me across that trust gap is if I find the answers and I'm happy with the answers along the way, for example, as how much does it cost? What if it breaks? What is the best so-and-so solution? How can I be sure that this doesn't happen? And what do I do about it? How does that one compare to that one? What's the best option money can buy and how far am I away from that? What do the reviews say? Have other people tried that? You see where I'm going? So there's so many questions I have as a buyer and I need to check them off one by one until I'm happy I can take those steps, cross that chasm, land on the other side, and be good. So again, if it's going to induce more trust, we do it. If not, we're not going to be able to bridge that gap here. How do we now bridge that gap in the age of AI? And there are 4 simple mantras that you can keep in the back of your head. And there used to be 3. And if you've seen me talk about this topic before, you know the first 3 because it's from a great book called They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. And Marcus says, in order to build more trust, you have to be willing to talk about the things that others aren't willing to talk about. Number 1. Number 2, you have to be willing to show what others aren't willing to show. Number 3, you have to be willing to sell in ways that others aren't willing to sell. And number 4, and that's the new one, you have to be willing to be more human than any other one in your industry is willing to be. And we're going to get to every single one of those today. And I'm hoping you have your workbooks out, and I'm hoping that you are going to be writing down some ideas and really, I'm hoping this is going to spark some great ideas for you here of how you can do these 4 things. And I guarantee you, if you do just a few of these things, you will see a significant difference. Okay? Oh, maybe I explain why. The most prevalent, before we move on, the most prevalent method of marketing is what Marcus calls ostrich marketing. And it's based on that myth that an ostrich sticks its head in the sand and hopes the problems will go away, right? So as buyers, we have all those questions that I was just mentioning, but as businesses, funny enough, we always shy away from answering those questions. So we stick our head in the sand, we do all those fancy marketing campaigns, but we actually don't answer the questions that our buyers are asking because we keep on saying what? Oh, we just have to get them to the salespeople, and the salespeople will answer them in private. Yeah, that's not going to work anymore. If people are wanting to have a seller-free experience, if people want to have 90% of the buying journey done by the time they contact sales, you have to answer those questions. No more ostrich marketing. Okay? All right. So how do we get there? Number one, talk about the things that others aren't willing to talk about. I alluded to some of these, but there is 5 topics that are guaranteed to drive traffic, leads, and sales. And I know we just talked about the importance of traffic diminishing, but these are the ones that are really driving the sales and the leads coming in, because those are the things that if you address them and no one else in your industry addresses them, you're the one who's going to get the deal, or at least the first phone call. Okay? So it's price and cost. So you might be in an industry where you can't actually say what you're charging. That's okay. I'm not saying you have to say, we are charging X. But you can say, what makes the price go down? What makes the price go up? What are the factors that are influencing the price? What's an ROI? How can I be saving? Is there financing available? You see where I'm going. There's so many questions around cost and price that you can be addressing that your salespeople get every single day. Answer them in video form or in written content form. And guess what? Then you salespeople can take those, send it to your leads. We'll get that in a minute. And they don't have to repeatedly answer them over and over again. All right, so that's cost and price. Potential problems. So it doesn't matter what you sell, what product, what service you sell, it doesn't matter. There are potential problems. Some are misconceptions, like, I don't know, that the quality of a prefab home is lower than a traditional stick-built home in the US. And then there's real problems, like if I don't have the ventilation in my passive house right, there will be mold. You need to address these because these are things that people are worrying about. And if you want them to cross that gap, if you want them to come from that one mountain to the other mountain and actually buy the thing, you need to address them. Then versus and comparison. It's human nature. People want to know, how does this compare to this? And they really want to understand, can I get this with that? What are the feature differences? What are the price differences? And this doesn't have to be vendor versus vendor. It should be at some point, but it can also be a solution approach or a market category or something like that. But people want to understand what they're buying. Now, then we have best of and reviews. People want to understand, what is the best look like that money can buy in your category. And then they want to understand, how far are you away from that? Are you a high-end product that is the best and you define what the best looks like? Or are you more an affordable option? And here is how you get to that affordable. You're not just cheap and you crap quality, but how is that gap defined? Because guess what? All those 5 topics define what value looks like for the buyer. So once the buyer understands what value is, how your product brings value to them, the price sensitivity goes down, they're understanding what they're paying the money for, and they're okay with it. And they can self-define, am I a good fit for this or not? Okay, and then there's reviews. Everyone wants to read reviews, whether this is on G2 Crowd for software, or it's on the B2B business, BBB business review, or any other review website. but people want to know what other people have said. So you can do this with customer journey videos, with testimonials on your website, or actual review websites. And then there's two bonus categories, the what is. So it's really important to, from your subject matter expertise, really explain what is something. And then how to do something. So maybe there's a specific process that you found in your industry that works really well. Explain that process. With those two, I'm a little cautious because I don't want to be misunderstood. It's not generic content that someone can Google. This is real subject matter expertise. Okay? All right. Quick example here. And if you want to have any examples to any of these, what I'm talking about, any of those videos, any of those articles, I'm happy to send you multiple examples so you know what this looks like, what good looks like. Okay? This article here, River Pools and Spas, this is an article that Marcus Sheridan wrote at the very beginning of the almost end of his pool company. He almost had to declare bankruptcy with his pool company when the Dow Jones crashed, and he saved it single-handedly by doing what I'm talking about. He wrote about cost and price, about potential problems. So this is an article he wrote, and up to this day, it made $35 million in revenue. How do you do that? So I've linked here a free impact course that goes much, much deeper and actually has Marcus explain how to write these articles. There's a link here that you can just click on and go hop. You need to create a free account in Impact Plus, but you can just attend the courses there. It is really helpful to hire an in-house writer for this, because that person can interview your subject matter experts. That person has a much more in-depth view of your industry as they learn along with you. But an outside writer is simply not going to have that kind of loyalty or expertise, motivation to do what needs to be done to make this good. Okay. You have to align with your sales team. You have to see eye to eye with them. You have to go and ask them and collaborate with them. What are the questions that people are asking? You can't do this in a silo. You absolutely have to get your sales team on board and have them be part of the process. Otherwise, they will not be using the articles and send them out to leads, and they will not give you the insights, because they're the ones who talk to your customers every single day. Start with bottom of the funnel content. So the big five are quite bottom of the funnel content, because there's immediate ROI if your sales team is using it and sending it out. And you have to answer these questions honestly, transparently, in an unbiased way. If you do the impact course, you will definitely have some good examples of what that looks like and how to do that properly. But if you get stuck and have any questions, always just send me a quick email. All right, I want to just point out one other thing on articles. We talked about blogs a lot and how ChatGPT and generative AI is going to take away market and mind share from Google and search engines. And if we continue to think of our content as something we put out every week on a chronological order, it's gonna be really difficult for us. Because what is going to happen in the next 6 months is that we are going to have a little chatbot on our website as well that is like ChatGPT, that will answer the questions and will provide that same user experience, because people are going to demand that they have in ChatGPT, but on your content on your website. Okay, so how do you prepare for that? You go in and you audit all of your content, delete all the old stuff that you cannot rescue, it's just so outdated, just delete it. Obviously redirect it, make sure that you don't lose the SEO credit. But update what you can update, and build sort of a See it rather than a chronological blog articles coming out every week. See it as a knowledge base that you're keeping up to date. And then really go through with the fine-comb tooth and see, what do you need to update? What do you need to, maybe there's even a list you should create of, if I update pricing, I have to do these things. I have to update them in these articles as well. But see it as more of a knowledge base that the chat function sits on top of, and then people are answering questions on your website through that chatbot there. All right, coming to number 2. You must be willing to show what others aren't willing to show. And here is really, a lot of people on their websites talk about themselves and talk about, we're the greatest, we have these accreditations, look at our projects that we've did here, look at the houses that we've built. And that's all great, and that's not really what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, draw the curtain back. Show them a view behind the curtain. What is your process like? If you're a prefab manufacturer, show them how you are creating the wall panels, or how you're assembling that structure, how's it shipped. Really make that process transparent. It goes for any other industry. Really show what it would be like to work for your company. What is your employee culture like? Showcase your employees. Okay. One thing that I've really found very useful here is the Selling 7 videos, and I'll take you through them very, very briefly in a super quick run through. All right, so the 80% video is a very useful video that you go to your sales team, you say, what are the top 10 questions that you get on a regular basis? And then you interview them answering those questions. You cut it together with the 7, 8 top questions, and that becomes your 80% video. And you can do that for every single product or service that you offer, and it should live on the product page. Bio video. Every customer-facing employee should have a bio video. Nothing fancy, just 90 seconds to 2 minutes, telling the person that they're interfacing with, the customer, prospect, lead, what are they like? It gives the customer an option to meet that person before they actually meet. So I've already seen their body language. I've already seen, I heard their voice. I've seen their face. I heard from them that they're a dog person and they just ran their first marathon and they really love what they do because whatever. Okay? It makes the person a human that they love to interact with, and people like to buy from people. So if I have any recommendation of what you should start with, and if you have your workbooks out, that is making a bio video. You can just do it with a background like this, nothing fancy, your webcam or your phone, and just shoot it like this. Just think about it before with the script. Very quick, very simple. A customer journey video. Just explain what the situation was before, what was the problem, the challenge that the person faced, how did you help them overcome, and what does the transformation look like? Simple, and it shows how people transformed in that journey and what the journey looked like for them. Makes it super, especially in the prefab modular house sector, that is a phenomenal video to do. Claims we make. A lot of, and I'm just coming here up with examples of prefab because that's the world I live in most, but for example, a lot of prefab say we're earthquake proof, or we are hurricane proof, or whatever, we save this much in energy. Show me how. Show me, like, I've seen clay houses burn for this many hours in videos, and it's really convincing. But if you're making a claim, back it up and show people what it is like. All right. Now, cost and price, I can send you a list of questions that you should be answering in that if you want to tackle that one. But essentially, you really want to go, okay, so what does the price go up? What makes the price go down? What's the ball range that we're looking at? And then general questions that people are always asking around your cost and price. You don't have to give your price if you usually don't give your price, but you have to explain what value is. Product, service, and fit video. This one is a good one because we always love to say we're the best. Best for who? The most attractive thing you can do to a good fit lead is to tell them who you're not a good fit for. The second you say, we are not a good fit for, like I'm a business coach, I am not a good fit for someone who wants me to do their marketing for them. Because I will teach you how to do it, right? So the second that happens, yeah, I'm excluding people. But those who really want to work with me that are a good fit, that is like, oh, that's what you do. Okay. And that's what a product and service fit video does. Landing page video. Landing page video is a quick video on your landing page that says, for example, on a downloadable or download our buyer's guide, it says what happens when you download this thing. So people are worried about downloading this thing because you might spam them, you might sell their email address or whatever it is. If you say, I am going to call you once, it's going to happen within one day, then you get one more email and that's it. Or whatever your process is, then they know what to expect and they know what they're getting into. It is shown to really increase the conversion rate drastically. All right, I have linked in this, I'm running out of time here a bit. I have linked a awesome video, 11 reasons why you should not buy a metal roof. And this is from a guy called Thad Burnett. And I just interviewed him on the Trust Builders podcast. If you're interested, I'll send you a link to the interview of how he created it and why. But I really encourage you to click on that link and watch that video. It is phenomenal example of a fit video. Okay. Now I'm going to run through these real quick because I really want to get to the other two things. So in terms of making a good video, you have 2 to 3 seconds to hook people in. And then after you hook them in, you will have, in the beginning at least, you change perspective every 3 seconds. And that will keep their attention. Then you have the progress principle, which is sort of midway, you're hinting towards what the payoff is going to be. Then you have the payoff. And as soon as you hit the payoff, you're done. Cut. Because if you wobble on for another 10, 20 seconds about something else and thank you for watching, people will switch off once they receive the payoff. And it sends a signal to YouTube, oh, they're not watching the rest of the video, which then is bad for your view time because you want to have 100 to 110% view time. So in a YouTube short, it would start again. Essentially, that means 110%. But if you follow this formula, and I have it in the slides so you can try it out, it's a great way of creating a YouTube short, and definitely encourage you to try that out. All right, I've linked here another video of the visual sale, and this one is free as well. So just it's a few hours, I think, but it will take you for each of the selling 7 videos and then whole stuff beyond. I really encourage you to put in your workbooks what kind of 2 to 3 videos you want to start with and when you're going to produce them by. Again, you don't have to do something fancy. In this interview with Thad Barnett, he gives some advice on what kind of camera equipment you need to set up. And if you're just starting out with video, I really encourage you to listen to this episode of the Trust Builder podcast with him. But he really goes through what you need to get started. But super simple. I put here the software that I use. I use Veed. and Squadcast, Veed if I record by myself, Squadcast if I interview someone or I record a podcast. And then Descript for the first editing, because it lets you just edit script, like you edit transcript and you just delete stuff in the text and it will delete the video as well. It's awesome. And then Veed if you want to add some visual elements. You can do that with Descript too, but I really just prefer Veed with that. But you can use whatever you want. Those are just mine that I use. All right. Sell in ways that others aren't willing to sell. Now, I understand this takes a little bit more explanation than I have time for right now, but what I really want you to understand is buyers aren't looking for a salesperson that will tell them all. And here are all the features. But they're looking for a trusted advisor, someone who comes across and is genuinely, first of all, who's genuinely interested in their needs, in their situation, in their concerns, and then acts as a trusted advisor. So again, says, you know what, based on what you just told me, you might not be a good fit. Or based on what you told me, you are a good fit, but we need to do X. Or, before we move on, I have a few more questions for you. So isn't rushing to push and desperate to sell to every single person out there, but it's very selective and really focuses on buyers' education. It is super important in this new world, and I cannot stress this enough, that you have to become the best teacher out there in your industry in order to win in this new world. Okay, so what is this graphic underneath? It's a process called assignment selling, and I just put in sort of a example what this could look like. Your sales process might look totally different, but assignment selling is a way of proactively using content written, like articles or a guide or something, or video, or self-service tools like a assessment tool, a pricing calculator, whatever it is, some piece of content that is educational and helpful in the right stages to create momentum. Okay? And that's where a lot of salespeople go wrong. They just try to push. No, we don't need to push. We need to create momentum with the right person at the right time. But it helps us if we're sending them educational content and we say, hey, look, I know you just booked an appointment. Here's a quick video of what to expect in today's call. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and it's really important that you think about what these answers look like for you. And then we can dive right in. Or maybe you had the first appointment already, and now you want to look more at what their problems are in the needs and problem assessment call. So you could send them an assessment tool before the call and say, fill this out, and then you can already assess what your needs are relating to X. Or you can send them a buyer's guide. A buyer's guide is a document that will answer a lot of the questions that people usually ask just before they're ready to sign. Or you can send them an onboarding guide as they're ready to close and start the onboarding process. So they know exactly what team they will be working with, what the onboarding timeline looks like. You see what I'm saying? It's all about building trust. Every single step of the way, you're building more and more trust. Okay. In your workbook, by the way, there is a section in there of where I'm asking you to identify the enrollment triggers and what that piece of content could look like. If you struggle with that, I am happy to help, and there's a lot of content on my blog around assignment selling. How do you become the best salesperson in this new age of AI? You really have to lead with questions. You have to be genuinely curious. We talked about being the best teacher in your space. We talked about wanting to sell to the good fits and being honest and transparent about who is a good fit and not taking on the bad fits, because let's face it, they're going to be very unhappy customers anyway. So why sell to them in the first place? It's just going to backfire. Assignment selling in the sales process will create momentum, will help you to educate your buyers and shorten your sales cycle. And it's shown that it actually increases close rates significantly. All right, and then we talked about self-service tools. So wherever you can, try to figure out how you can use a self-service tool, whether that's giving the option for them to self-schedule an appointment or calculate the ROI or pricing, do an assessment, configure a house layout, whatever it is, they want self-service tools, okay? All right, last but not least, how to be the most human out there. And this one is tricky because we're still exploring that one much, much more, but I put a little LinkedIn post by Marcus Sheridan in there that really, I feel like, highlights that evolution quite nicely. So for me, the point is be authentic, be transparent, be yourself, but be there. Show your face. You have to make much, much more an effort to send one-on-one videos. Make sure everyone in the Zoom calls turns on their video, because we have so much nonverbal communication and people see you and you see them. It builds a closer relationship and it builds trust. Share stories, like actual real stories. And it comes back to everything else I said before, the customer journey videos, the articles showing your authenticity. Make sure you really have, you draw back that curtain and let people in. Okay. And then I want to say one thing about empathy. One of the key characteristics that makes us humans human, I feel, is showing empathy for each other. Another great episode of Trust Builders with Connor Delaney, where he talks about having a moment where you pause and you wait, because someone in a sales conversation, a lead, just shared a struggle with you. And rather than rushing to give a solution, you just pause and say, wow, that must be really hard for you. That's when you become really human to them, because you are sharing in that moment. You're letting them, they're just cracked open, right? And you just build a relationship that is going to last, rather than just rushing in and saying, oh, we can fix that. No, just show empathy. Show empathy in your emails, be genuine about it, but really be empathetic. And it will change how you build relationships and how you sell tremendously. All right, and the last one is a bit of a funny one, AI avatars. How do AI avatars make us more human? Well, there will be a time in the next 6 to 12 months where we will be using much, much more one-on-one video, but we might not be able to do every single video one-on-one, because the scale is just, we're going to be, as a person, having to do so many more tasks and scale them much faster, that we're not able to do that anymore on one-on-one scale. So as an avatar, if I send you a one-on-one video just before our call and I have to send it to 10 other people, I can say, hey, Susan, it's Hannah here. Well, actually, it's my digital avatar, but I just really wanted to make sure that we connect before this call and whatever it is. So you're being transparent about, yeah, obviously it's an avatar, but it's still me, right? It's still me talking, recording myself, being that avatar, training that avatar. I give him the script, but you're being transparent about, I'm an avatar, but it was really important for me that I say hi to you. If that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, let's connect after. All right, really quick, how to get started. I put the link to the impact courses in here again. Fill out the workbook. I am more than happy to take 30 minutes. At the end of the workbook, there's a call to my link to my calendar, and book me for 30 minutes. I'm more than happy to walk through and have these discussions with you and give you feedback. There's no strings attached. I'm just here to give you feedback and help you along on this road. It's really important to me that you are walking away from this and having some actionable insights and really ideas that you can put into action in a plan how you tackle this in the next 90 days. I strongly encourage you to buy a book, the book They Ask You Answer, although you might want to wait until October now, because there's going to be a new updated version coming out it's called Endless Customers. It's still They Ask You Answer, but it's going to be a little bit updated version of They Ask You Answer. But if any of this sounds interesting, that you say, you know what, I really want to do assignment selling, I really want to train my team in doing this marketing this new way, I can only encourage you to see if the Ask Your Answer certified coach might be able to help you. And there is a link to the directory to find the one that fits you. I am a certified coach, but I might not be the right fit for you. So if you have any questions, there's my contact information. There's a link to the Trust Builder podcast, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn, which I would love to continue this conversation. And with that, I'm going to check real quick if there is any questions. I'm not seeing any questions. If you have any questions, would you mind popping them in the chat real quick? Excellent. So there is no questions, but do feel free to email me if you do have any questions, or maybe you just want to ask them privately. I hope this was helpful. I would love to hear from you if you found it helpful. And if you have any questions, just send them to me. Thank you so much.